I'm gonna be running around like a madman for the next let's say 7 minutes as I link out to everybody who needs to be made aware that we're live streaming. And our good buddy Kory May is gonna keep you entertained while I do that. For those of you who see this after the fact, just scrub ahead about 7 minutes, and that's when the sort of official workshop will begin.
Yeah, the magic starts at 7:05. This is the official dimming of the lights, telling everybody to come in from the lobby, get seated, get comfortable, do your bio break work now.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Dan
going
and
in
I
the.
are suitably festive.
I've got a sweater as though it's cold. All right, it says we are live,
It
but I
does.
can't. But I can't find us anywhere. Um, what is going on? Do I need to just? What if I do this?
I gotta see whether I should be.
There, I found it. All right.
Let's see.
So, have you worked? How much time have you spent working on your story since last we spoke?
Oh, about 30 minutes.
Okay. Uh, I have
And
you beat,
what was
but
that?
I have you beat,
Oh
but
wow.
not by a lot.
You're making this so competitive. I don't even know what to do.
What? The whole point is we're doing it for a competition.
And I found my notebook. Here we go. Phew.
Congratulations. Now, what kind of notebook do you rock?
Well, okay, here I'll let you into the secret mind of Kory. I have
Mm-hmm.
multiple notebooks, one for my subjects. If I've got a storytelling group on Mondays, I have a notebook for that. A storytelling group on Tuesday or Toastmasters meeting, it's
Okay.
designated that way. And they're
Sure,
labeled.
but like, what's the brand? What's
Oh,
the
well,
the
I'm
feel
glad
of
you
the
asked.
paper you're looking for?
Oh, see, now you're getting into the specifics.
Yeah.
This one I pulled out of a tub. I have a dealer who gifts me all of her notebooks. So this one is my current notebook. It's got the plastic cover on the front and the back, so that it's safe. And then it also has these plastic rings on the side, so that I can always add paper easily, as long as I have paper that fits that particular ring. It's a unique perforation. This is from Staples, the ARC customizable system, and I like that. Then, as we're getting into the specifics of what I like to write with, I'm a left-handed person, and because I'm a left-handed person, I push my pen across the page. Right-handed people pull
Yeah,
their
yeah,
pens
yeah.
across. When I was a kid, that meant that all of my writing in graphite, the Ticonderoga or the Ticonderoga yellow number 2 pens would always end up smearing on the side of my hand. Now that there is quick drying gel ink, I prefer either the Pilot G207, these,
Okay.
or I prefer the Uniball Vision Fine Points as well. One of those 2 pens is my preferred. I like the way they feel in my hand. I like the way the pen point kisses the. Thank you, Edward Flood. I like the way the pen point kisses the paper. I do, I do. And if at
Is
all possible, I
is
prefer the
Edward
skin.
Flood
Says Lefty here. I can relate. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Now
that's in yours. I don't see it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why they don't. I thought they would combine. So
for me,
true? Am I not looking at am I screwing something up?
The ideal is always a something with a spiral ring on top, because that way it really doesn't mess with my hand. And I use both the top and the bottom. If it were a perfect world, it would be spiral bound and graph paper, because I just like the way the everything looks in graph paper. Whole nerd moment there.
There we go. I found the chat. Sorry about that, Ed. Who do I got? I gotta get it on Discord. I gotta get it on Twitter.
Do you have any particular preferences when it comes to ephemera like this?
No, but I did recently lose a notebook, and it's killing me.
Oh, brother, I've got a whole story about that. Let me share this one.
Yeah.
This is the coolest thing that I have seen. It is a landscape. Sorry for the folks at home who are having difficulty. It's a landscape wide pad. Check that out. So it's all set like this. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to crack that open. There is such a beautiful relationship between pen, writer, and paper that I absolutely love.
God, I don't want to.
So if all of you out in Zoom
channel.
land, Restream land, whatever channel you are, if you are feeling like getting me gifts, pens, fine point pens, and notebooks. But I've got
exactly which ones to get.
And I love Staples and Office Depot. Any office supply store is pretty close to Christmas year round. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with that.
That's awesome.
Know. Yeah. Weird fetishes. Hey, Dan, it's 7:05.
Too strong a word. I'm fucking
How can you
locked
say
and loaded.
it's too strong a word?
As I swear.
Wait a second. Let's before we get into this too deep. I'm looking up fetish. Yeah. Well, okay, you might maybe. I mean, a form of sexual desire in which gratification is strongly linked to a particular object or activity or part of the body other than the sexual organs. Probably. The second one, an inanimate object. The second definition might work to be better. An inanimate object worshipped for its supposed magical powers or because it is considered to be inhabited by a spirit. And I honestly think that
a little bit.
Second definition.
A little bit. If you had said it with that kind of emphasis, right? That version, sometimes it's not, tilted up correctly. But that version, you give a little bit of spice in the back of your throat when you're talking about that kind of fetish.
Well, I mean, Dan, let's be real.
Yeah.
Where does the muse reside? Where does the muse reside? Is it in the person, the pen, the paper? It could be. We are not inanimate objects, so it could be here or here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Spicy conversation at 7:06.
All right. So I'm throwing you a complete curveball. I fretted over the last one, and I was like, that is a better choice. That is a better choice for a winning moth piece. But I do not feel ready to spend hours crafting that specific moment in my life. And so I was like, what do I need? I need something that's funny. I got to go for funny. and so I'm bringing you a whole new thing. I did, I might be underselling that I spent an hour on this because I did spend some like legitimate sort of walking time to be like, what could I do with that? Could I get it to a place where I want to do it? Do I want to do it? And I thought about talking about it here and just saying, for me, I think it is one of the things that holds me back is like I'm so tethered to my muse. And if I am not doing the thing that most motivates me, which is devoid from the stories that necessarily have the most leverage, I just don't get forward momentum. So that's something. But I brought something that's a little bit funny. I did also work on the balloon ones. I did some research. I called up a buddy of mine who was with me at the time, and he brought up an interesting fact, which I don't remember at all, but he had good details about it, is that we had snuck into a building beforehand, and there was this art gallery going on where all these artists had taken over this art building. It had been it was like an office building that had been hollowed out for some reason. He told me why. Maybe it was like a financial crisis and they sold the building and it was just empty, so they let these Columbus, Ohio kids gut it. And so we were walking around through this building. They were doing all sorts of stuff, but they had left chairs and desks and clocks, and apparently we stole all the clocks. And he has them. And I just feel like there's something in there. Like I go steal a clock, and then I head into an alley, and all of a sudden there is helium balloon pig guts floating through the alleyway. That's such a good scene if I could do something with it. But that's not what I'm bringing today.
That's very surreal. I can see a Salvador Dali influence on that. And there's something to be said about stealing time. Literally. There's the literal aspect of stealing time.
And fitting in with those moments.
Right.
So there's something in there.
I mean, and not just necessarily in terms of just clever, cheeky wordplay. There's something to be said about the whole intentional theft of time.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you want to start? I want to hear about like what your process was.
So there were two 99s that were coming out of it. First of all, the one that we talked about, and I owe this as an apology to everyone who was here last week. I kind of wimped out on the idea of the 99-second story because I wanted it to be perfect. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect. These whole workshops and work sessions are in order for us to gain more experience, get more perspective, go through the process in a transparent way so that you can see how two different people go about their creativity. So I owe that to everybody else. So the first story that comes out goes more or less to the heart of my relationship with Dave. And it's probably going to be longer than 99 seconds, but I think it goes more to the heart of it. And you may have heard this story, Dave. I mean, Dan, sorry. I elevated you.
No, I got it.
Into
that is a very common mistake. There's a lot of Daves in my life.
Dave's family and mine have been close since before I was born. As my mother would tell me, and as Dave would also confirm, our families met when Dave invaded our backyard stealing mulberries when he was a young child. So he would climb up in the trees and eat as many of those mulberries as possible. And with purple hands and purple face, he zonked out in our backyard. Now, this is the 60s, and my mother was surprised to find a small white child with purple hands and purple face in our backyard. So she nudged him and said, "Excuse me, young man, do your parents know where you are?" And Dave points out, "Yes, there they are." And the our family property butts up against an elementary school, and through the ravine behind the school, there would be Greenwood Drive, and across Greenwood Drive was Dave's home. Mom escorted him back and met his parents, and we've been friends ever since. I've known Dave most of my life. He's 10 years older than I am. When I came back from my freshman year of college, he had a job waiting for me, except he didn't know that. It was at a comic store, and I love comics. So I worked for him for several years, and he was always interested in what I was doing. Now, Dave was the kind of person who lived at the intersection of time and talent. And if you were interested in developing your talent, he would have all the time in the world for you. So he would introduce me to books that would be of value to me. Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. All of those tomes of self-development he and I would talk about. Dave became my best friend as well as my mentor. Dave was the kind of guy who would send me Sturzing's potato chips. They're an Eastern Iowa niche kind of potato chip. When I was living in Maryland, he would send out a case during the NCAA basketball tournament because he knew I wanted a taste of home. That's what homeboys do. When I moved back, well, I forgot. He was the best man in my wedding, and he was also the best. He was also the godfather to all 5 of my kids. And when I moved back to Iowa City after my divorce, he was still my best man. He loved collectibles and owned a small antique store in a suburb of Iowa City. And sometimes we would just go riding around the countryside, visiting estate sales or auctions, and find treasures. Some of the treasures that we would find would be comic books. Others would be Depression era glass, all kinds of things like that. He would see value in those things. And the things that people would walk past and think that there was no value in, Dave would find value, and he would also find a buyer for them. At the end of our times on those trips, Dave would always ask, "So, Kory, did you have a good time?" And I said, "Yeah, I would have a good time." I had a great time, as a matter of fact. We stay in touch, and as much as I love Dave, sometimes we drifted apart. It was difficult because Dave got sick several times. He had 4 different types of cancer, a lung transplant, and he had a kidney transplant and a bone marrow transplant. And as I've said before, "Dave, how do you survive all this?" He would say, "I'm particularly hard to kill." Now, those trips into the countryside, the Iowa countryside, looking for treasures became rarer because he didn't have the same strength that he did before. And after each trip, he would ask me, "Did you have a good time?" And I changed what I would say. I said, "Dave, time with you is time well spent."
Boom.
No, well, we could end it there, but
Oh, you're just taking a breath?
I was taking a breath, having some emotions. The
No, go for it.
as
Sorry.
he grew ill and became confined to a hospital bed, we would talk. and he would ask me what I was doing. And sometimes these conversations would last hours. And at the end, he would say, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Kory. And I say, Dave, time with you is time well spent. The last time I saw him, I said goodbye. And I called my older sister and I told her rather, what I felt. And I said, I feel like I need to tell Dave he's the finest man that I've ever known. And I'm weeping. And she says, you don't have to tell me. Tell him. So I told Dave, and he said, thank you. It's a rare compliment coming from you, Kory. I appreciate that. 2 days later, Dave is gone. And so if there was any lesson to be had, it would be this. Be the kind of person that someone would say to you, time with you is time well spent. And be the recipient of someone's time and attention so well that you could say, thank you. Time with you is time well spent. Boom.
Boom.
Longer than 99 seconds, but that's just...
Yeah, well, that's... the prep up of telling me that it was a 99-second through me.
It was in my heart. It was a 99-second story. When it hit my tongue, it just said, ah.
Yeah. Okay, that's exciting to see. That makes sense. That makes so much more sense to me, because that was one of the conversations we had last week that kept hitting my head. I was like, start at 99. Start at 99. How? And it's hard.
Well, but here's the other part of that is you can start there, but what you do is you compress a moment, right? It's not going to be an epic. You can't tell a generous epic, and that's what I did. That was an epic. For someone's life, you would signal out, you would pull out one moment and then do 99 seconds on that.
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be the mulberries.
The mulberries wouldn't work because I wasn't actually there for that. What would work would be if I were to expand and explode one of those stories of us going out into the countryside and finding a treasure.
How strongly do you feel about that?
What? Which
it wouldn't work. Because of that reason. Like when you see that in our workshop space where we go and we help people and stuff like that. And if you go to an official moth workshop or you talk to Matthew Dix or something like that, that'll come up a lot. Where's the you?
Yes.
But I am skeptical that the audience cares outside of that niche circle.
Okay, so here's what it works in terms of a longer story because it's background information, and I could compress.
No,
that.
I understand what you did and why you used it in this version, but when I'm saying you could use, I thought it was going to be the mulberries. Your immediate response was, if it was just the 99 seconds of the mulberries, I wasn't there, then I'm not in the story.
Yeah.
And that is sort of a trope that I hear a lot of people say. I've said it, and I'm questioning that belief right now. Like, what happens if you go on stage and you tell a story about somebody else?
Well, I have to bring myself and my interaction into that.
Why? That's it. Like what is the effect to the audience if you don't?
Well, it
Like
would
what's the negative?
it would quote unquote violate a live lit personal narrative uh, rule, I guess, and one of the unwritten rules of live lit that you can't tell a story that you're not directly involved in. I mean, that's feeling kind of Paul Harvey-ish, and now you know the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm.
What it works by the end because now you know that we have a that there is a familial relationship. I'm going to use
Yeah, yeah,
CC
yeah, 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 yeah.
a coterminous familial relationship there, and that works because it sets up everything that happens after that.
Yeah. And it's also the impetus of why you hang out. I think that like that saves it for me even in the 99 because
Okay,
that's like how you met him.
right,
And so you're in there. That drop of you at the end is such like a important piece.
right.
But I still think that's an interesting discussion. And I also think that you're right that it is technically written on that moth piece of cardboard that the story has to be centered around you and your personal experience.
Right.
I think that is one of their bullet points.
Now,
And that's
uh,
that's for them. I think it's I am open to that discussion that it's limiting
right.
and it's not good. I think that there's a lot of people who have great stories and they just want to tell ones that they've heard better than the person who could tell it
Or you can follow
or who
this
lived it.
idea,
Hmm.
live a more interesting life, and you're going to have great stories all the time.
Sure, sure. Um, yeah, this is very epic
So the key to
in
that
this
being
version.
the key
Hmm.
to being for it to be tighter has to center around us going on. If I'm going to do the arc, very brief introduction, or maybe not the Mulberry story at all, unless I can get that into a couple of lines. Then the meat of the relationship. He's my mentor. He's my best friend. He shows up when to be my best man, and and this is one of my favorite lines. And after my divorce, he was still my best man, which shows an awful lot in those short lines. And then uh, the relationship continues to mature, and the did you have a good time? Yes. And then ultimately, when we both know that he's getting more ill, he's getting weaker. It's time with you is time well spent, and that's a very, very. Um, I think that's a line that that's universal in terms of everybody can understand that. You know, there are people in your life that any time you spend with them is going to be well spent, and you can't say that about everybody.
Hmm.
And it should make you think about that person or people in your life who give you that gift. You know, it'd be interesting
Okay.
if you harvested that line and brought it over to your clock stealing story. Not trying to be campy, but if your relationship is really good and you remember that, time with you is time well spent, and it works.
Hmm.
So here's
Uh,
another. Oh, Oh, go ahead.
You said that there were like 299s.
Yeah,
This version is way different. I feel like this is the other version. This is way different than the thing that you
yeah. Um,
practiced. Is the other one closer hewn to that?
no, no. The
No.
other one is another one here.
Okay.
Dave calls me up and says, "Hey, I've got some pictures of the kids, and I want to give them to you." I was like, "Dave, you can keep the pictures of the kids." No, Kory, I really think you should have these pictures. And I say, "Okay, swing by my office, and I will run out and grab them." I'm not exactly sure which pictures he's talking about, and when he lets me know that he's out front, I run down and I grab the envelope, and it's chock full of my children's elementary school pictures, all five of them, because Dave is the godfather of all five of my kids. And he smiles and he says, "You hang on to these for me, will you?" And I say, "Of course, Dave," because I don't understand what he's talking about. He says, "I got to get back home. I'm not feeling too well." A month later, Dave is gone. And as I reflect on that envelope full of my children's pictures, it's because I realized that Dave knew he was dying. And before anyone would go through the estate and throw out anything, he wanted me to know that he loved my kids enough to make sure their pictures wouldn't end up in the trash. Boom.
Um,
I don't know how long that was.
99.
Squee.
And the other one was 630 about.
Well, okay. The one about the kid, about Dave's grandchild. Um, yeah, I haven't been able to uh, establish that. Well, the wee tot's like 4 months old, and I haven't been able to be like, "Hey, you don't know me yet, but I'm going to be important in your future." So it's expressing more of a desire than the actual "I have done this" just yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so there was a problem to me with some authenticity with that.
Gotcha. I think like artistry drama wise, that's my favorite one of these three.
Fair enough.
Um but I like them all. I like this as a 99 a lot. A month later he's gone is going to have some like real oomph as you get the language around it.
Right.
And we get the setup. I think it's also nice that it in the way it is right now that it like sets up like I know because we've been through these stories, but anybody who hasn't like that's not where their mind is going to wander to. Like you got to have these pictures cuz I'm dying. And when you're like, "Ah, I'm not feeling well," like you'll be able to play that like it's good in that it'll be very satisfying in the audience's mind because they won't see it coming. But then when they hear it, they'll be like, "Oh, I did see it coming. He did show us."
Yeah.
And that's just a very satisfying feeling to be like, "Oh, there's this thing that he said back there and I remember it.
Yep.
But I didn't put it together, but now I'm putting it together and ah." And for the people who do get it, uh it's just a different kind of satisfying. Ah, I solved the puzzle first.
Right.
What are like your go-to emotions about these two now that you've done them?
Um, I always love a story with a hard right turn or a hard left turn. Um, laugh, laugh, cry, or cry, cry, laugh. I want to hit you with an emotional right turn that makes you go, oh, oh, I did not see that coming. And like you said, that satisfaction where you're like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it coming, but I could have.
yes. And it's the kind of story that you think through when you're out of there, or if you're with a friend, you're like, well, he said this, and he said this, and he said this, and all the clues were there until and oh yeah, that's where I want to be. Those are the kinds of stories that I like to tell. Not so much brain teasers, but like this last 99, you're with me as I figure out that Dave knew he was dying before I did. And I mean, obviously he knows how he feels, but
Yeah.
none of that connected in my head. I didn't twig to all that.
Yeah. So is all that to say the this last version is the version that you're like most drawn to?
Well, I want to see what I can flesh out around that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is a 6-minute story, which means I could have up to 4 99-second stories, or I maybe a couple of 99-second stories, and then context with them. I don't know. I still got 2 more segments um, to play with to tweak this into shape, to inflate or hydrate the stories, and we'll see how it works.
Mm-hmm. All right. I hate this question.
Well, Dan, I
But
like pina coladas and laugh and dancing in the rain. So
yeah,
there, I will take that off the question for you.
thanks. Uh and then the other one is, do you feel like you have questions for me? Or there's things in this that you like, is there a specific kind of feedback that you're kind of looking for? Because it's so early on
No,
in it, I'm like a little bit hesitant to give.
no, I'm willing to listen to whatever
Sure, sure,
feedback
sure.
you have, and and if it doesn't, if it's
Yeah,
not
yeah, you're
emotionally
strong
clear,
enough to like take or leave whether it
yeah.
resonates. Um, yeah, I generally feel that way, but I just wonder if we have it in us. The like, can feedback send us down a wrong path?
Yeah, yes, it can, but here's what I'm going to say:
Hmm.
we're going to generate enough iterations that
Yeah, it won't
some
matter. We'll
things,
get there circuitous or we'll get there straight, one way or the other.
right?
Okay. So in that first one, I wrote a bunch of notes. Let me look them over.
Sure.
Uh,
Is this going to be a 2 hour episode? Because
it because it's gonna be my turn eventually.
yeah, exactly.
Um, I feel like mine's gonna be quick.
Oh no! Why are you depriving me of my joy, Dan?
Uh, so I really like the thinking of it as a 99, purple hands, purple face, your mom catching him. I just feel like, in the sense of competition for 99 and what I see people go for, having a really strong, vivid image
Hmm.
somewhere in there where they can remember, they see 5 different stories, maybe more,
Right,
in the different heats, and it's hard to retain that much. So
right.
the person who's vivid, there's a lot of draw to that. And
Hmm.
so that was one of my thoughts in my notes here. Is that mulberries, and that mulberries kind of like it starts on that and then it gets that and then boom, we're best friends. Because he got in a little bit of trouble, kind of thing.
Well, you also have
Um,
to understand it was in the 60s and my mom finding a small white kid in our yard. To me,
yeah,
that's
that
hilarious.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's part of why it was like so vivid, that whole combination. Uh, there is a supercut of a bunch of movies that say the word time. And I guess I want you to be aware of that. Because it built up throughout the thing
Hmm.
as you were working on it. Like you hit it started at the intersection of time and talent,
Hmm.
and then it like sort of treed where you found places to put the word time in,
Right.
and so there was a lot.
Was that too much?
I think it was like it felt like it was part of the editing process, right? Like
I'm going to use a bad joke.
some of them were clean and some of them weren't.
Okay.
The intersection of time and talent is like a very clean one, and then you explain it. And then some of them are just like, this is the last time I saw him.
So
Right.
yeah,
But
you're
you're
right. You're right.
using it for emphasis in all these other places where you're hitting it. And so when you're saying, this is the last time I saw him, this is the first time I saw him since whatever, it's like, oh, is this one we need to pay attention to?
Okay.
Is sort of what happened to me while I was listening to it.
So
And
okay, got
it's just like be aware of that effect. And is it like,
because I need to save it for time with you is time well spent. I need to save it for that.
yeah, or are you trying to like fire hose the word time
I
and that
wasn't
does
trying to.
something?
It,
Okay, okay, okay.
I wasn't trying to
Yeah,
find.
but
Or,
you
I mean, I
could.
suppose subconsciously I could,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the last time I'm out of time, he's out of time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um Iowa countryside I wrote down because that the in your backyard thing, and like if you took a moment there to rekindle, or like just like it could be a little more vivid.
Okay.
But it was also a part where I was like, is that a cut? There was something around that area where I was like, this is the first point where I was like, oh, I'm a little confused. Like I didn't feel like I knew where it was going. Was that
Right.
Iowa countryside? So it's like kind of like one or the other. Time I saw her the last time. I like, and then this is a line read, but I like just leaving it at, you don't have to tell me. Because with your sister's response,
Oh, okay.
because then it works, I think, as a double. Like you literally don't have to tell me I know that about him.
Right.
And you don't have to tell me you have to tell him.
Yep.
And so I think it works better to not explain it because you're going to tell him, so we're going to get it.
That works. I like that.
Cool. All right. I'm ready. I'm kind of ready for you. I have it like I've got it written out. And this is more in the like crazy unexpected thing that's cool genre of story. And there's two there's three lines that I want to hit early in the beginning that I don't have memorized. And so I'm going to try to read them and then swap off. All right. Are you timing me?
I am.
Okay. "2024 Chicago is a living, dating hellscape. Pre-shutdown, I was doing great. Even in the shutdown, I was doing great. I just had this string of awesome relationships, one after the other. Like, I loved them, they loved me, it was great. And then everything opened up, and nobody remembers how to date anymore. I just wanted to meet someone who got me and knew how to deal with how shitty dating in Chicago has been over the last 12 months. They understood what a dystopian, apocalyptic nasty. Beep. Elizabeth had stood me up on a first date. She'd confirmed she was excited for, and I am leave a message after the next beep, pissed. But I say, hey, apparently something happened to you. I hope that you're okay. And I just like, I'm not going to wait around any longer. And if you ever call me back, I will definitely pick it up. But I'm going to leave in like 5 minutes. And I hang up the phone. And I look into the empty Indian restaurant on Milwaukee, and I do not wait 5 minutes. I just go to my bicycle, I unlock my bike, and the phone rings. I pick it up, and the voice on the other end is, "Why the fuck do you keep calling me?" I'm the guy you're supposed to be on a date with a half hour ago. You confirmed last night at like 10. Oh my God, I'm drunk. No, I'm not drunk. It's just I was asleep and I woke up and I'm late. I can't believe just wait there. I'll be there. Where do you live? I live in Logan Square. I am not waiting an hour for you to show up to Wicker Park. How about I jump on my bike and we just eat at a place that's like close to you if you really want to meet up? That's perfect. How long will it take you to get here? 30 minutes. So she rolls out of bed, walks downstairs. She seems, fine. She's a human being. She's a regular person. I get it. We have a normal conversation. We go into the restaurant. Everything's fine. She's telling me about her entrepreneurship. She's telling me about the cool things that she's worked on. She's telling me about all these projects that have like really shot off, and she's a little ADHD, so she's got a million of them, and then she's got a boyfriend who isn't really a boyfriend, so they started a business together. This is all stuff I get. I am on her wavelength. So I ask her, I'm like, I was checking out your YouTube channel, and you have this kooky character. How did you come up with this woman from this future? What do you mean? How did I come up with? Well, like, when did you devise this future thing? There is someone in the kitchen who drops a plate and it busts all over the thing. And our eyes are just locked on each other in silence. Neither of us move away. It's just, I am waiting for her to answer. And she is not grogging what I'm saying. So she says, it's not a character. I'm from the future. I'm from a different dimension that's also in the future. Uh-huh. You see, Dan, I came here to bring utopia to the world. I'm starting in Chicago, but soon utopia will come to all of Illinois, and then we will progress. And if I caught your YouTube correctly, you're bringing this utopia through eggnog. Yeah, I have an excellent recipe for eggnog that comes from this other dimension. I want somebody to crash something, but it's just silent. Not me, but let's say, in other scenarios where you explain this from the future and a different dimension thing, when these other people you tell this to, when they tell you that they don't believe you, what's your reaction? No one has ever told me that they don't believe me. Huh. They either say, that's so interesting, or they say, oh, okay. Oh, okay. And then the rest of the afternoon is totally normal. We pay, we leave. She turns to me, she says, Dan, I really had a good time. Would you like to come back to my place? Because I feel like you'd really get it if you could just come and see my bedroom and you'd see the portal. Because I could take you to this other dimension. I could take you to Utopia. No, I'm good. No, I'm good.
$6.54. Dan, so much humor in this. Your opening, it's a hellscape. No one remembers how to date, and you go into the dystopian, and that's your setup. Yeah, I see what you did. Elizabeth stands you up. The 30-minute bike ride, the conversation around the YouTube channel, and great language here. Kooky character. The
Yeah.
alliteration was cool. Grokking. You said grogging. I think it's
It's
grogging.
grok.
Yes, I think it's grog. Grogging is
Sure.
what happened so that she was groggy.
Right,
Grokking is your
right,
ability
right.
to understand. Uh, she's the utopia bringer through eggnog.
Yeah.
Absolutely had me rolling there. And then your high-pitched squeak, huh? That's so interesting. Or okay. Now, again, this I wasn't sure how you were going to react. Bedroom portal. I could take you to Utopia. Most fantastic line ever. No, I'm good. Fantastic. Oh, I was laughing so hard at that. All right. Um Now, I mean,
Right.
this is parenthetical.
Yeah.
How? I mean, did you go on another date with Elizabeth?
No. No. This is probably the only time that I said, "Oh yeah, I definitely will," and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'm sure she'd
Um,
just be normal. If there was another one, I'm confident it'd just be totally normal.
oh my gosh. Um, you're probably going to need to trim 25, well, maybe a minute off. So,
So I have some room to breathe.
yeah, because um, this story is going to have so many laughs. You're probably going to need to cut down almost 2 minutes out of it in order to receive the laughs. And the strength of this story is based in all of its humor and the absurdity of this. Now, everybody has bad dating stories, but very few have bad dating stories like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a character. I am from the future and an alternate dimension.
Yeah. Yeah. That I love that part. I love that. It's both. Wait.
That's like the scene from the Blues Brothers when he asks, "So, what kind of music do you usually have here?" "We have both kinds, country and western." So, I love Edward. Nah, I'm good, but if you could give me the eggnog recipe, that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, oh. How do you feel after having told that story?
I think there's no way that this has any chance of placing well.
Oh no, I think it does.
I think
Absolutely.
it'll be funny. Like I think that I will step off stage and people will be like, "That was my favorite story." I think everybody will want to talk to
Right.
me, and nobody will want to talk to the winner, and and the and there will be a bunch of people who are like, "You're." I'll get comments like you made fun of somebody with a mental disability.
Well,
Like I'll
but
get some mean comments. That's how I feel. Will be the reaction.
okay, so here's the tragedy of that. It's that you don't know that she was mentally ill, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
And the other
In
part
all
of it is
honesty.
that you're not poking fun at her at all. You're relaying the facts
Yes.
as they're going, and at a moment when you could have taken advantage of the situation, you say,
So
"Nah,
no.
I'm good."
The first time in my life.
So there are a couple of moments where you can cut.
Yeah, I think that was one of my ones too. Is like I'm glad that you think I'm not 100% sure that "No, I'm good"
No,
is
it's
the
that's
right
a great
enter,
line.
because I
It,
feel like if you just left them hanging, it'd be easier for you to understand if you saw the portal. See if I just like stepped away there.
no, nah, I'm good. You've reached the
Okay.
level of your tolerance that I can take no more of this. Nah, I'm good.
All right.
Um, as much as I want to talk about, while I love the beginning of it,
Okay.
if you've got to trim almost 2 minutes out of this,
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to start with um maybe it's immediately 2024 Chicago is a dystopian hellscape, and then go launch right into it. Throw dystopia out immediately so that when there's the callback to utopia, We
Mm-hmm.
understand that. But hit me immediately that you've been standing at the Indian restaurant, the empty Indian restaurant now for for 30 minutes, and
Mm-hmm.
you're calling now to cancel to cancel this right now. Um, the immediate you're on the bike, you're getting ready to go. She calls. It's a 30-minute bike ride, and
Yeah.
then can you do a brief description? It doesn't have to be. Is she 5'7"? Is she 5'2"?
Yeah, get something in there. Yeah, yeah, I think I like was like she's normal, but yeah, I have it written in there. It's like she's like a yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll get some description.
She could look like
Right.
Tinkerbell,
No, normal Chicago hipster is what she looks like.
right? And that'll have meaning to people who are in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
does she reek of patchouli?
No.
Was she wearing Birkenstocks and socks?
Uh no, I can't just I don't it was like glittery. She had giant like fake party sunglasses. Like with like you can't see anything through them,
Did she
but
wear those
they're
the
all
entire?
slitted.
Did she wear them the entire date?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no. She took them off in the inside.
okay, all right. Um, I there's so much. I mean, I would need to see this line by line almost if we were going to start trimming. But boy,
Yeah, no, I
this
think
is
I've got
funny,
it. I
man.
think I've got it. And I think like some of it is just like
This is
performance wise, I
funny.
can slow it down.
And
Uh
and
is
remember,
that enough? Do you feel like that's enough like theme in there? I want it's like I want I want this thing and then I get what I want and I don't want it. I'm the miserable hellscape.
well, no, 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 no. You are not the miserable hellscape in this at all.
A
When the
little
moment
bit.
that you say
A
no,
little
I'm
bit.
good, you're like,
I'm the curmudgeon. I'm the guy who looks a gift horse.
no, no, you are not. You are not. I will stand. I will
I
die
feel
on
like
this
that's what
hill.
I
You were
think
the
that's what
one
I'm
that was
trying
like,
to
no,
say.
I am avoiding. I am avoiding bad things about to enter my life because of this.
All right. All right.
Now, there's some vocal variety moments
Then is
here.
there an issue of like there's no change in this story? There's like conflict, but there's no change,
No, yes, there
right?
is.
It's
There's
a
you.
hellscape and it just keeps going through
No,
hellscape.
the change happens to you because you want this date. Look, you called after being stood up for 30 minutes. You want this date. And then she says, and you're going to need to take some time and soak up this line because there's going to be laughter. I can take you to Utopia, and people are going to lose their cookies. Everyone's going to be laughing out loud on that one because the obvious metaphor, allegory, whatever you want, the allegory there. Nah, I'm good. I mean, I can show you the portal. I can take you to Utopia,
All
and
right.
I'm good. Love it.
Cool. Well, I think we've got meat on the bones to really work on and start perfecting language and getting it off the page.
Now,
It's gonna
Dan,
be tough because it's Christmas, but
well, here's the other thing. If inspiration hits, we may take a divergent path because
sure.
things happen during holidays and we
Yeah.
have interactions with people, and
Yeah.
sometimes inspiration pops up in weird ways.
I'm open. All right. This has been an awesome session. Thank you, Kory. Thank you to Sean Wellington for being the taskmaster that he is and running Swap Shop, running Grit Podcasting, running Suicide Noted,
Yep.
which is his most popular thing. If you guys know Sean through storytelling, but you have not listened to Suicide Noted, I strongly recommend it. If it is people discussing their experience surviving suicide attempts. And it's amazing how many people have gone through that and sort of the wide variety of feelings and emotions and how it changes your life. It's a cool discussion sort of podcast.
And I want to thank Dan for being on the other side of the screen, as well as Sean. And thanks to everyone out there who decided to take time on their busy Friday nights to hang out with the two of us. You're going to have us for another 2 weeks. We'll see you next Friday. Dan, take him out.
Bye. Bye. It's going to take me forever to figure out where the end stream button is. Where is it? Where is it?